Hey everybody, Danielle Hargenrader here. Welcome to another episode of Unleash Your Inner Diabetes Dominator. Today I'm bringing you another awesome guest who is thriving with diabetes. Her name is Kimberly Goodson. She is a wife, a sister, a nanny, a health coach, a baker, a homemaker, and a type 1 diabetic. She and her husband live in Durham, North Carolina with their dog, Bodie. Am I saying that right? Okay, cool. Yeah. While Matthew is in graduate school at UNC Chapel Hill, she cares for two adorable kids and a dog, runs her small integrative health coaching business, Ginkgo, and facilitates a local type 1 diabetic MeetUp group. She loves the mountains, foodie life, and spending time with family and friends. She believes that life is so much better when shared with others, and she is so happy to share some of it with you here. And I'm excited to have you with us sharing. How are you today, Kimberly?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. So I would like to know, as many people out there watching would like to know, your story. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your story of diagnosis with diabetes and the road you traveled from then till now to diagnosis to health coaching?
All right. I was diagnosed when I was almost 15, and I just had a lot of the typical signs. My dad has type 1 diabetes, and he's had it since he was 9. But at that time, I think, was taking one shot a day, and he hadn't even tested his blood sugar been very long. So when we tested my blood sugar on his meter, it was kind of high, but we didn't even know if his was working. But we went ahead and scheduled an appointment, and so I went on to school the next day and then just left early. Went and got diagnosed, came right back to school and said, yep, I'm diabetic and I'm going in tomorrow to meet with my educator, and just kind of learned a lot. You know, that big curve of learning at the beginning was very real for me, but I was a sponge at the time. I think I was, like I said, a freshman in high school, and just ready to take things on and being kind of type A. It was like, yep, this is my new part of life. And it's just something I took in stride pretty well. And I think that was a blessing for my parents. They didn't seem to worry too much. But I remember early on, I would have dreams in the middle of the night that my blood sugar was low, and a guardian angel would wake me up in my dreams, say, Kimberly, you need to wake up, your blood sugar's low. And sure enough, I'd wake up, my blood sugar was low. So
yeah, that's interesting. I think people have that happen. I mean, luckily, sometimes we do. I used to have similar things like that happen before I was blessed to get my Dexcom, where I would wake up if my blood sugar would go low. I don't remember anybody waking me up, but maybe it was a guardian angel. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, yeah, at this point, I just feel it and I wake up. But at that point, it was more in my dream life, which is really interesting. And I love the Dexcom. I just actually today got it in the mail.
Congratulations.
So let me borrow hers before I wanted to commit financially. I wanted to try it out, and I'm totally sold. I sleep a lot better now. Mm-hmm. But anyway, then, and really college had its challenges. I honestly don't remember a lot of struggles with my blood sugar readings. I've always checked multiple times a day and been fairly active. But I've been thankful the whole time to feel my lows and to know when I'm going high. So I've actually never been hospitalized for my diabetes. And my diagnosis helped my dad get back on track. He got a pump, and he's great now too. So it's kind of a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, it's always nice when you can help somebody you love through your own struggle.
Yeah. Yeah. So that brings a smile to my face, of course. And then after college, I was dating my future husband at that point, and we got married and moved up to where we are now in Durham, North Carolina. But as we've been married, I've realized how much, or maybe even before we were married, I had to share a lot of my personal experiences with diabetes, all those feelings, with somebody else who is perfectly healthy, hadn't had to deal with insurance, you know, all these things that were now burdens to him. And I think after about 3 years of being married, I was finally getting to that burned out stage, and just would binge every now and then. It wasn't very frequent, but I knew it was binging because I couldn't really stop myself, and I was extremely uncomfortable. And there was one day after that, I couldn't get out of bed. I just emotionally could not get myself out of bed. And I said, yeah, at this point, I really think I should go ahead and get some help. And in my search for help, I was noticing along the way how hard it is as a type 1 diabetic to find somebody who really understands the scope of the impact that the disease has, and even the lack of mental health support in the hospital system. So I got kind of a quick fix. I didn't need much help. I just needed somebody really to acknowledge that I was handling a lot, and yeah, I'm depressed, and yet that acknowledgement allowed me to open my eyes for all the things that I do want to for. And once I got out of that kind of dark space, I revisited my career goals and realized that Duke Integrative Medicine, which is 5 minutes from my house, has a phenomenal integrative health coaching program. And my employer was going to work with me for the scheduling. And I also even did a fundraiser on youcaring.com and had a ton of support from family and friends and people who don't even know me, who just heard my story, and the people who knew me affirmed that it just seemed like a really good fit and something that I should pursue. Went through the program all along the way. It's like, yes, 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 this is for me. This is what I'm meant for. And then every time I work with someone, I hang up the phone, and it's as if you could believe in a calling. That's what it feels like for me. Using my experience as a skill to help others with type 1 diabetes is my focus right now, and it's very rewarding. Yeah. So much so that through that, I'm finding I'm wanting to give back to the greater community. So I started that MeetUp group, which has quickly grown, and it's open to significant others or roommates of type 1 diabetics, and they're finding the support that they need as well. So that's a really fun experience to share with my husband through that.
Yeah, that's awesome that you're bringing him in and allowing other people to kind of get the peer-to-peer support that they need, and also bring their loved ones. That's invaluable. I just want to touch on something that you said previously, which I think is something that many of us, if not all of us, who have type 1 diabetes have gone through at some point, which is the emotional fallout of dealing with the disease that requires 24/7 input, 365 days a year. Even if you're well controlled, in your own mind, and however it is, it's still, I can't think of any other disease, and I've kind of searched, that requires so much patient input on so often. So it does get to us, and we do call it, I guess, burnout or whatever you may want to call it. But the thing is that you did, and that I did after time, and I think that everybody needs to sort of be okay with doing, is getting some help, which is what you said that you did, and which is what I did, and I continue to do. I think everybody needs coaches, everybody needs mentors, everybody needs people that they can lean on, no matter what stage you are in your life. And the fact that those of us with diabetes, we often get diagnosed, and then, here's the technical stuff. This is your stuff that your endocrinologist is telling you, and here's what your certified diabetes educator is telling you. And not that the stuff that they're telling you isn't valuable, but it doesn't address the emotional, psycho, kind of social, emotional thing that goes on. So I just want to put that out there for people who are watching. If you have diabetes and you feel like you need some help, you're not alone. Every single one of us feels that way at some point, and you should get it if you have the ability to get it. And if you don't have insurance, or you're looking for a way, reach out to the diabetes online community, join some Facebook groups. They're very supportive. That way you can just talk to another person, or even to diabetes.org. That's tudiabetes.org, where there's constantly an open chat room that you can just jump into live and talk to hundreds of other people who are living with diabetes, who at most they can really have empathy with your situation, and they can give you, maybe if you want advice, they can tell you what works for them. If you don't, they can just say, hey, I understand, you're not alone. And sometimes really that's all we need. So I applaud you for getting that help that you needed and kind of being an advocate out there, because I think that's something that those of us who have done it and are sharing our voices kind of need to push other people to step up and do, because I think people see asking for help as a sign of weakness, where I see asking for help and admitting that we need help as a true sign of strength. And I think we as a society need to flip that. And so I'm really glad that you were doing that and now helping others do the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So why don't you, so when you started the MeetUp group, that's something actually that I'm interested in doing, and I'm sure it had its beginning. So what did you do? Did you meetup.com, or did you go on Facebook, or how did you kind of facilitate that?
Yeah, so actually, I was kind of waiting around for JDRF, has a local chapter in Raleigh. It's 20 or 30 minutes from here. I was kind of waiting for something to pop up from them, because when I was first diagnosed, I had a teen group that was really active and just really appreciated that support. But after waiting for 3 years, and then I go through the coaching program and I have all this momentum, I just decided I don't want to wait anymore. I'm going to just start something. If it doesn't go anywhere, it doesn't go anywhere. But it did, because I chose to do meetup.com, because that's a more universal website that people new to the area, they go to that for a specific location to find other people to meet with. And so that's why I chose MeetUp over Facebook, because in Facebook, I wasn't sure how to get the word out there, whereas MeetUp, people can just search for the location and the interest, and boom, here we go. And there were no other type of groups near here.
For those of us out there thinking of it, tell us, of doing it, because I think a lot of people think about, organizing something for their local community. What was your first meetup like? How many people showed up?
I also need to say I did use Facebook, because I went to some of the online diabetic communities to tell them, here's this new meetup group, you should join and find out when we're having these events. And the first event I had at this local kind of trendy bar that has open seating, and so you can go get food from the food truck and bring it inside. You don't have to go to the bar. You don't have to purchase anything from there to sit there and enjoy the space. And it's they have games that you can pick up and bring to your table. You can bring your dog. So I just saw that as a very fluid space. So if people needed to leave early or were uncomfortable and wanted to just, come check things out and then walk on by, I liked the open flow that space has. And so we had a good turnout, and I just keep kind of picking different places and different times, and I do it once a month to see what works best for people. And really that first place called Full Steam, it has always had the most turnout, because I think it's just a cool, comfortable place for people to come.
Nice. And so during the meetings, what's the feeling? Is that people just sharing stories? Is there a particular, do you have it slated out, certain things happen at certain times, or is it just a free for all, just chat and have fun?
Yeah, it's just chat and have fun. It's, for me, I don't want the responsibility of really planning that much, but I also think it's beautiful for the people that come together to create the environment that is going to be most beneficial to anyone. If it is just being social and talking about football, then they're getting something out of that. But more often than not, it's diabetes, and talk about the latest, greatest thing, or the emotional struggles does pop up. And it's after each meetup, somebody says, I'm so glad you're doing this. This was really needed. I wouldn't have gone to this other thing. Or, I've always been hesitant to go because I don't want to go and talk about the medical side of how to manage this. I want to talk about the emotional side and make friends around it and get that extra social support for diabetes, which is so needed. And I wanted to say something else. Oh, yeah. I think if anybody's ever been to diabetes camp, you know how it feels to go and just have diabetes incorporated into how things are going to run. So when diabetes pops up, it feels just as normal as any other parts of the conversation are normal.
Yep.
So I think that's why people keep coming back, because we feel normal.
Definitely. And good for you for doing that. I'm sure your community is benefiting greatly from it, and that is awesome. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your business? So am I saying it right? Ginkgo? It's like, it's not spelled the same way, so I don't know if I'm saying it wrong. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, there's some discrepancy about how to spell it, but it's like the tree. And I chose Ginkgo as my business name because it represents peace, hope, and vitality. And those are all things that I aim to inspire and empower my clients to have. And I'm focusing on type 1 diabetics and mostly adults going through times of transition, because that's really when most people are going to feel like there's something not happening that I want to happen. Some people know what that thing is. Some people need help discerning what it is. But I work with my clients to kind of hone in on a couple of things to work on and create achievable goals and action steps. And we check in every 2 weeks for 30 to 45 minutes at a time to see what is being learned along the way, because we don't, even though we might not meet our goals, there's learning that happens. And the more people discover about themselves, the more empowered they are to make decisions and action steps that they're living into more of themselves. And it's really beautiful. I use that word way too much, but it's hard not to when you're helping other people and living into the life that we're here meant to live for.
I totally agree, and I think you can say beautiful as many times as you want. I think it's a word that needs to be used more often, and just words in general that evoke feelings of happiness and gratitude and joy and love. Those are the type of words that I am always trying to use as often as possible, just because that's how I feel, and I feel like when I emote those feelings outward, other people start feeling that way. I kind of notice, even if I come into a room or into a conversation that might feel a little like down or icky, I'll just start being myself and feeling happy. And the thing is that our vibes and our energy really are powerful. And when we're unhappy and we're miserable and we're feeling hopeless and helpless, like I felt with diabetes from 10 or 12 of my 25 years with it or more. And now just feeling the opposite, those feelings, not only do they affect us, but they affect everybody that we interact with. So I totally feel you on, feeling like you're living into your calling. This is, I'm a big fan of destiny, and, our decisions and our choices shape our destiny. So I agree with you, and I don't think you should ever apologize for using words that are happy words, especially.
I like happy words, just not repetition.
Awesome.
Doing self-checking back in my mind.
Yeah, no, definitely.
That's not to say that the reason why I got into it is because those negative feelings are very real and need to be explored in order to get to where we want to go. And I would hope that nobody wants to stay in those dark places. So
yeah, no, I don't think anybody wants to, but I think people do struggle with how. And I, from personal experience, I think working with a coach in any capacity, that really just having accountability. And that's why I tell people, if you're not ready to, work with a coach, go online and get some accountability with a buddy from the diabetes community. There are just so many people out there who are trying to do the same things. And, we all have different reasons why we want these same things, but we all want to be happy. We all want to feel healthy. We want to feel vibrant and alive and proud and empowered. I don't really know many people that don't want to feel that way. But the thing is that we don't necessarily know how to feel that way alone. And I would have never figured it out for myself if I hadn't gone to numerous Tony Robbins seminars and had therapy and, you know, continue to have business coaches and health coaches myself, even though I am one. And that's the thing. People are like, oh, I already know this and I'm already at this level. And to me, it's just constant. Yeah. I feel like health is a journey that we get to be on. It's not you know, if it was 100 years ago, we'd all be dead with diabetes. That's just the way it is. And now with the way technology is advancing, you know, does diabetes suck? Yeah, sure. But does what we have, the options that we have to control the choices that we make around our diabetes care, are they unbelievable compared to me 25 years ago? Just my quality of life, because of the technology that we have available to us, is so improved that I'm grateful for what I have. And sometimes it's hard to get grateful when you feel unhappy. So the more people out there like you and me and people who are trying to help people get on that path to happiness, because really that's the feeling I think everybody is after. You want to get healthy. Why? Because it's going to make you happy. There's always an end game, and that game is to feel good and to be happy. So I'm glad to have you on Team Diabetes, you know, making people feel better, helping people feel better. And that's awesome. So is there anything else about, you know, any future projects that you're working on, or maybe you want to talk about when your next meetup is, or anything like that you want to share with the community?
Yeah. Okay. I just thought of 3 different things.
Okay, good.
The next meetup is at an ice cream shop downtown in Durham called The Parlor. If anybody's local, we'll be meeting there, and I can't remember the date, but look it up on meetup.com. We're Durham type 1 diabetic, adult type 1 diabetics. The second thing is through one of Asha Brown's online
hangout
live chats. I can't remember what she calls them exactly, but somebody in my meetup had mentioned how cool it would be if adults had like a diabetes camp to go to. And that idea had been thrown around a couple times. And then in that group with Asha, somebody mentioned, well, what about a cruise or, you know, something else? So my wheels are definitely spinning about or around organizing something more just like the concept of my meetup group, where whatever people want to talk about, people can talk about, but we're all connected to diabetes in some way, so that it's a place to share those experiences and talk about diabetes things, but in a fun environment, kind of get away, kind of like the unconference. I've never been, and I'm curious about going, but my wheels are turning about that. And locally, my dad is type 1 diabetic, and he leads canoeing trips a lot. So we might have him come up and take our meetup group on some adventure weekend, just to kind of give me a starting place for planning something like that.
Awesome. And my wheels are always turning about things like that. I've just been, you know, for the past few years, and Asha and I are very close, just to bring, you know, the unconference, fantastic. I've been to both. There's only been 2 so far, and I've been at both of them, and they are unbelievable. You know, peer-to-peer support, which is again something that I believe in so strongly and has such a profound effect on our desire to manage our diabetes better. People have just come out of the environment and feeling more empowered, and feeling, just because they're around other people who get it, it just gives you that feeling of belonging. So I think more things like that are live are necessary, and I'm definitely planning on doing things like that as well in the future. And I think the more the better, because the world is huge, and we all live in different areas, and we all, you know, people can come. I'm actually facilitating an adult type 1 diabetes camp weekend in May, which I'm really excited about. Camp Najeda, which is apparently been a children's diabetes camp since 1958. But for the past 2 years, they've hosted a type 1 adult weekend camp. So I'm very excited about that, because not only am I facilitating, but I'm going. You know, I'm going to present, but I'm going to camp. I didn't go to camp as a kid just because I was so introverted, and I was so deeply depressed, and just wasn't a good thing for me back then. Maybe it would have been, but I just wouldn't go. But anyway, so more stuff like that, please. The diabetes community needs it. We need as many personal meetups as we can get. So that's awesome. So let's kind of bring it around to what Kimberly's top 3 tips for thriving with diabetes are. What works best for you that may spark something in somebody out there to help themselves do just better than yesterday?
Yeah. I think the first thing is open communication with whoever you're living with predominantly is really important. And openness as well about your feelings and frustrations. I think it's really good for me and my family and my husband for me to just be able to say, I'm really high and I think that's impacting how I'm relating to you right now, because I'm usually a lot less gentle.
No, my husband knows if my blood sugar is high and he wants to have any type of discussion, I'm like, look, I'm high right now. Let's revisit this in like a couple hours, because this is not going to go anywhere productive.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. Or talking about, I'm really having a hard time talking to my insurance person about this, and sometimes he'll take over and talk to the insurance for me, because I deal with it all the time, and it's just sometimes we need a break, and it's good to at least be able to talk openly about our frustrations as well as our triumphs. So we do celebrate my really good days. I'll show my CGM and it's, looking pretty good today. So we'll celebrate. So just openness about diabetes management allows us to share it more and makes it just a lot. I mean, it strengthens our relationship too, but it makes life more easily enjoyed when you're not handling it all on your own. Yep. And the second tip would be to never feel like you're locked into a certain routine. I recently took a pump vacation. It was my first one since I got my pump 15 years ago. And I liked it so much. I was planning on just a weekend, but I ended up doing it for 6 months.
Wow, nice.
I learned so much about myself and enjoyed wearing dresses a lot more for that span of time. And when I came back to my pump, I really appreciated it for the things that it does offer, but it also refreshed my perspective and my understanding of my body's feelings around different times of the day and what my basal rates. When I went back to my pump from my shots, my weight hadn't changed that much, but I was changing my basal rates because I had this kind of renewed perspective for where they should have been the whole time. So things have leveled out a lot just because I changed my routine for a little while. And along with that, changing when I work out and the type of workout. I also recently I had been going to the Y in the morning to do some working out, like first thing, because I'm kind of a morning person. And when I was on the shots, though, I was finding that I would either need to take an extra shot before I went and worked out, or I would have to change the time of day I went. So eventually I just decided, this is just too much for me right now. I need to find a way for being active to remain fun in my life. So I just ended my YMCA membership, and I fit in Zumba now with the kids, and we like dance around the house. And
awesome.
I feel really healthy, like so much healthier and happier without that guilt around not making it to the Y. And so along with that, I guess my third tip would be is the more information that you can gather, the more equipped you are to, make wise decisions for your diabetes management and life management. Mm-hmm. So coupling with that, I've also, and it's hard to do it all the time, but I love mindful awareness. It's kind of like meditation, but just basically taking time, maybe 5 minutes a day, to just be still. Like I grew up with a Christian family, be still and know that I am God, but just be still and know that you are living. And what does that mean? Just living and breathing. allow space to kind of tap back in. And a lot of times you'll come out of that realizing what you're here for and what you're passionate about. And so I try to do that as much as I can, but most people would tell you it's hard to make that a routine. It's the healthiest routines are the hardest ones to keep.
Yep. And I tell anybody, I'm a huge proponent of mindfulness. I actually just did a 3-day mindfulness challenge with Diabetes Daily. I made videos and everything because and really what mindfulness means to me is kind of what you said is presence and awareness, is that we're so wrapped up as a society and like having our cell phones. And on top of that, us with diabetes, we have our cell phones, and some of us have CGMs, and some of us have pumps, and some of us on top of that, we have our glucometers, and we are always just looking. And even though we're taking care of ourselves, we're not actually taking time to, like you just said, be still and breathe and actually acknowledge all of the signs that our bodies are sending to us, that could make the difference between having a good day and having a bad day. And then one of the things that I recommend for that, and to anybody, it doesn't matter what the weather is, just go outside for 5 minutes. I don't care if it's just opening your front door and just standing outside the front door and breathing in the air. Even if it's cold, it doesn't matter. Even if it's raining, just put a hood on. That 5 minutes, not behind a screen, don't have your cell phone in your hand, leave everything inside the door, 5 feet away, but just leave it alone for 5 minutes. That's, like you said, it's a practice. You know, people tell people all the time about being healthy. It is a practice. The more you practice, the more habitual it becomes. But just like mindfulness is a practice. And I think it's one that has enriched my life to such a profound level that there's hardly enough words to actually describe the difference that makes in my life. And I think you're head on with that. So
yeah, you just have to try it. Words don't do it justice.
Not at all. Not at all. People are like, what are they talking about? Just be quiet. Like, be quiet and you'll.
Well, I'd also say if you're really curious, look up some tutorials online. Like there's a bunch of free information out there. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally agree. Well, awesome. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to join us here today. Now, I want to make sure that you get to tell the diabetes community everything that you want to. So is there anything else that you'd like to share with us before we wrap it up?
I might sound cheesy, but it's true. And I think that's why I do what I do, but I want everyone to know that they are loved and they're here to not be strapped down to whatever is holding you back, but go out and live in the world and spread the love that we're here to share.
Yes, agreed. All the love. Love is always the answer. Yes, cheesy to all the cheese in the world, because guess what? Love is the answer to everything, and I totally agree. And everybody is here for a reason. Even if you don't know what it is, just do what makes you happy, and eventually you'll find your reason. So follow your heart, be happy, spread the love. Awesome. This makes me happy. So thank you, Kimberly. And as usual, I will link all of Kimberly's links under the YouTube video, whether you're watching it on YouTube or on my blog. The links will be under both videos, so you can get in contact with her, find out more about her, and see all the awesome things that she's bringing to our community. So thank you, Kimberly, for joining us. And we will see you on the next episode of Unleash Your Inner Diabetes Dominator. Take care, guys.